This is Mona Austin, and tonight, President Donald Trump will face off with his opponent, Joe Biden. These two men will be on the same stage at the same time in their very first debate. We've been waiting for this moment for many months as they've been on the campaign trail, but now we get to hear from them and see how they vibe off of each other as they try to take each other down. That's the name of the game tonight. Who will lead the next country will depend very heavily on their performance tonight, Cedric. So we want to give you a little bit of a preview of what you might see. And that will be from what we got from the host, Chris Wallace. He's from Fox News on Sundays. He will be the moderator tonight at Pace Western University in Ohio, Cedric. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about what he says he wants to cover in terms of those topics, and did he get it right? Is he going to be talking about the things that are of utmost concern to the American public? I want to start by asking you, Cedric, what do you think is the most critical issue coming into this presidential election?
Oh, God. Well, we should be talking about some things of what we can do. I would like to see minimum wage go up, and that's number one. Personally, we need to be at least making $17 or $18 an hour, not this $7.25 or $8 an hour. I mean, we're 10 to 15 years off. People are having a hard time. That's why we have to keep coming up with these stimulus packages to try to come up with things. But no, we're too busy talking about tax information. We're dealing with Supreme Court issues. We should also be dealing with how we can try to help the people in California that's dealing with those wildfires, Mona.
Yeah, Cedric, and you know, the issue of minimum wage, that is so far from this list. The economy is on the list of 6 topics that were introduced by Chris Wallace prior to tonight. But certainly minimum wage is something that has been in the atmosphere of the nation's capital and in government discussions for a long time, but the needle has not moved on that issue. And then climate change. That is obviously a very big topic currently because of all the fires that are going on out on the West Coast. Fires on one side of the country, on the other side, tropical storms and hurricanes. And so you would expect some of that to be a part of tonight's discussion, and that's a criticism coming into this discussion tonight. And then also, Cedric, I just want to add to what you're saying about minimum wage. Many Americans are struggling for jobs right now because of the coronavirus, which, by the way, and the saddest terms, I want to just express my condolences to families who are in mourning all over the world. Here in the United States, we are still leading as the epicenter of the pandemic around the world. And as of today, there are over 1 million dead worldwide from coronavirus. And so obviously that's going to be a huge point of contention going into this debate tonight, and also a huge concern for all of the people mourning in our country. One thing I would like to know is, how will the next president lead during this ongoing pandemic? Because it has not stopped. We never leveled to the point where we reached zero, or as they would normally say, we have got to get to a level where it levels out. And then we see that the experts have been saying over and over that now that we're in flu season, we're going to be battling flu season as well as the coronavirus attack.
I want to ask you about that, Mona, because you did say something about flu season. Do you normally get a flu shot? With me being a veteran, my doctor, I always go in for my fall checkup, and the first thing they ask me, are you going to get your flu shot? And normally I do. Usually when I get the flu shot, I usually come down with the flu in about 30 days or less. This time I'm real skeptical on that. You being a military wife, how do you feel about that?
Let's talk about that, Cedric, and I'll answer you. Yes, I do get my flu shot every year, and I ensure that my family gets theirs. I believe that if we have followed standards to come up with proper vaccines, for example, there was a time when there wasn't a vaccine for chickenpox and smallpox. but because of trials and because of the experts going through the proper testing and evaluation, and then bringing those vaccines to the public and getting the proper approvals through the FDA, we now have shots for chickenpox and all other kinds of ailments. And so as long as the work has been done, that is my opinion. But like you, there are many people who are skeptical about vaccines for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
Some people really believe that your immune system can be reduced by injecting foreign substances to help you get better, when sometimes you just need to let your body naturally heal. There's that school of thought. And in the African American community, I'm sure you're well aware that the African American community was stunned into fear by the Tuskegee experiment of the 1950s. And so because that came from the government, and that involvement makes people today doubt the coronavirus. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's not something specifically that is on that list of 6 topics. And I want to go over those topics. But that's not something that's on that list of 6 topics, but should well be, because currently there is a debate going on, some tension, I should say, going on in some parts of the African American community, because there are Black doctors who've formed a task force of their own, trying to encourage Blacks to be a part of the clinical trials for the coronavirus vaccine. They want to do this because they want to make sure that the vaccine is effective for everybody. And if there are not enough people participating in those trials, it's hard to determine if it will be beneficial to your group. Yeah. And so they're encouraging African Americans and Hispanics to participate in the trials, with the hope that the trust will be in the fact that they emerge from the same communities.
Yeah, you know, I want to share this with you, Mona. Some of the biggest concerns, especially the evangelicals and the Christians, they're saying that we're not going to take no COVID-19 shot right now because we don't trust the system. And if you look at it, if we were to look at those numbers of the people who around the world, especially in the United States, since we lead everybody with the death in COVID-19, what is the percentage of African Americans that are losing their life from this situation? Have you heard that?
I have heard that, and I don't want to quote a statistic right now because those numbers shift every day, and I don't want to get that wrong, but I will say in the U.S., the African American community is impacted greater than any other community. And right. So we've lost a lot of lives here with the over 200,000 people who have died here in the U.S. Many of them have been African American, and in the state of Louisiana is where some of the push to get people involved in the trials is coming from. The presidents of Xavier University and Dillard University, they got involved and said that they want to be examples to let people know, just try, because you need to have some defense, since many people in the African American community do have pre-existing conditions. Yes. And they are vulnerable due to things like diabetes and high blood pressure and other ongoing, longer standing illnesses than blood pressure problems, but like heart disease. And so
we got to get ready to watch the debate, and we will be checking back with our listeners. But before we go, I have to ask you this question, and that question is, it has to deal with Breonna Taylor's case. The Attorney General is up under a lot of fire there in the state of Kentucky, and there has been a juror that has stepped up and said something. So do you think they're going to get that matter resolved? Because I don't think they handled that case well.
Well, Cedric, of course, I have to be as neutral as possible on these cases, and I do want to answer you as clearly as I can. This is a case that lacked sensitivity. In a general sense, it lacked sensitivity. And then for the Attorney General to make a decision and be aligned with Mitch McConnell, there is a lot of political behind the scenes action going on in the state of Kentucky right now. And so even though a juror is pushing the issue because they're coming forward and saying that during our deliberations, we're not certain that we got all of the information to consider before coming up with a fair verdict, even though that's happening along the sidelines, there are other things happening too, and that Mr. Cameron is close to the Republican Party, and so there's some dissension there, in that state politically, and that's spilling over into the Breonna Taylor case. And so my heart just goes out to her family members, to her boyfriend, who has to live with the fact that he survived.
Yes.
It came there for him, and she ended up getting her body riddled with bullets and her life taken away.
Yes. Well, Mona, hey, listen, there have been a lot of things that you've been sharing with us, and I want to make sure people know how they can follow you as we have the Slice Report. So what is your social media handle page on Twitter and Instagram that they can get the latest news and information?
Thank you, Cedric. We are on Twitter at The Slice Report and Mona King Austin, as well as Facebook. So please follow me there. I will be tweeting tonight. I will be making notes throughout the debate tonight, just to give you some things to think about. And I hope you are thinking about both candidates and giving both of them a fair chance to convince you who deserves your vote, because your vote is your voice.
I got my yard sign, so I'm going to go to work. I will talk to you later. So go from there.
Cedric Bailey, okay. We will definitely be in touch. I want to send people over to the newslice.blogspot.com, and those 6 points that I mentioned for the debate, you can review those beforehand so that you can be an educated voter and an educated viewer.
Use your First Amendment right. Go vote. That's all I can say. Vote, 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 vote with authority. You heard I got to go. Thank you, Mona. Have a great day.
Bye, Cedric.